So welcome to the first video edition of Ask Dr. Fraud. I'm Michael Skiba. So what we're going to do today is we're going to tackle the top trends of 2019. So this time of year, I know there's a lot of discussion on this at conferences and on the web. But what I want to do is I want to actually dive into this a little bit further. And I get asked this question pretty much everywhere I travel. So we're going to take a deeper dive into those top trends. So firstly, we can't talk about trends without talking about data. And I think last year was a pivotal year because companies did a really good job of leveraging and understanding that data is important. Finding data, getting data, but now there's almost an overload of that into the system. So what companies need to do now is they need to focus on the data that's most important to them. So I would suggest starting backwards. Look at those challenges you have as a company, and then what data you can get from that. And you can get that data. So make sure you're not getting too much, filter that out to what's important to you. Secondly, connect your systems. So I think ultimately companies are doing a really good job of leveraging those technology platforms, of using those tools, but what they need to do is make sure that they're talking to one another. So for example, in an insurance application, you might be asking, well, why does onboarding need to keep connected with subrogation? Well, from a fraud perspective, there could be a lot of hidden gems in that data. So make sure in that whole ecosystem, through that whole claim process, or if it's financial services, through that process, that those systems are talking to one another. Lastly, it's what I call my back to basics approach. So, we're talking about technology, and companies understand they need to leverage that to develop strong fraud fighting efforts. But I think at the end of the day, we also need to not forget about the human aspect or the human element of that. That's what fraudsters do. It's fraud behavior that we're analyzing. So I think creating that multi-pronged approach where a company uses those technology tools, but also secondly thinks about psychology, and how those psychological elements can be inserted. Thinking about the interview process when you're interviewing an insured or claimant or anyone involved in that, how they can actually use and leverage the psychological aspects of that to help accentuate their fraud fighting efforts. So those are some my top three of 2019 trends. Thank you for the great question. Keep submitting them through the website and through LinkedIn, and we'll get to those in further episodes. So I'm Dr. Fraud. Till next time.